On Thursday, a large group of people who've blown the whistle on corruption will be honoured at the first Whistleblowers Award. People like Cynthia Stimple, Johan van Lockrenberg, groups like Corruption Watch being recognised for their work. Tebogo Khaas is the founder of Public Interest Estate. Tebogo, good afternoon to you. For some reason, when we think of whistleblowing, I think many people immediately think of the Gupta era. But we've seen a more recent example with the Unemployment Insurance Fund and people in that office who stopped it on the face of it. It looked like a major scandal.
No, absolutely. It is a major scandal, Stephen. In fact, I mean, look at how much the amount that is involved. I think 5 billion or something like that. And how many houses you can build with 5 billion and how many people you can take to hospital, treat in hospitals and all that with that kind of money. So we have to be grateful for individuals such as those senior officers at the UIF who blew the whistle on the mystery and pushed back against those who wanted to see a transaction that ought not to have seen the day of light. So it is people like those that we like to encourage. We want to say, do more of that. And those who are still doubtful, there are examples that we want to amplify of people who are doing right, who are ethically moored, who are exemplary to everybody else. And that's the kind of citizens that we want. That's when we talk about ethical citizenship. Those are the kind of people that we want to encourage to see being emulated. And it is that recognition that we seek to celebrate, or that kind of conduct, positive conduct that we seek to celebrate and amplify through the awards.
I mean, one of the things you want to do is create almost a culture of whistleblowing, encourage it. And sure, we have the UIF example, we have the event on Thursday night. But you also need to look after whistleblowers. And I must say, if you look at everything that happens, it's probably still stacked against whistleblowers. And the obvious example is Babita Deokaram.
That's the ultimate price that people like Babita Deokaram paid, Jimmy Mohlala in Mpumalanga, in the metro there, and the list goes on of whistleblowers who pay the ultimate price. And what you're saying is that we must not let their spirit be just be wasted, going to vain. We must make sure that we recognize what they've done and make sure that their deeds do not go unheralded, and which is what we're trying to do with this. And by the way, whistleblowing is not only limited or confined to what I would call C-suite type of whistleblowing, where we talk about the Guptas and all that. There's also whistleblowing that ought to also take place at local municipality level. You and I would know somebody who's bridging the electricity, who's stealing Eskom's electricity. Now with the improvements in the generation, the biggest problem will be in distribution, because then people will be consuming more and more electricity. If I don't pay, nothing stops me from consuming as much as I can. So we need to actually people push back and speak out in those communities, because we cannot expect police to be sitting on each and every transformer at every corner to see who might be breaching it or who might be connecting illegally. But we need individuals to actually come out and be able to be part of finding solutions, because we cannot wait for authorities to do everything.
One of the things that's quite complicated about this is that I think people feel that they shouldn't be seen to be sort of telling on their friends. You know, if you're part of a community, you're now pointing fingers. Look, that person over there is stealing electricity, and that person over there is going to come to your house one night.
No, absolutely. There's that saying that it doesn't affect me, so I don't have to rise until it affects you, and there's nobody to talk on your behalf. So we need to be able to inculcate that culture of ethical citizenship. In other words, encourage other people to do right, even though it might not affect you directly, because as you rightly put it, it will affect you tomorrow. A case in point, you and I can't walk in downtown Joburg without looking after our shoulder. In fact, I won't be walking around downtown Joburg with my phone in my hand and my glasses, because I'll be marked. And as I'll be marked, nobody would care. No, they'll just pass me, or I pass around me as if nothing is happening. And tomorrow is going to happen to them. So is that kind of culture that you say, it is not a victimless crime, corruption also. There are victims. That 5 billion at the UIF could be used to help the unemployment figure, reduce the unemployment rate, and yet people could have gotten it. It might have ended up in Switzerland and anywhere else.
One of the other things is that when somebody blows the whistle, what normally happens is they get fired, right? Because it's usually on someone superior to them in the organization, senior to them. And then they're without an income. I mean, in some cases, even from the Gupta leaks and from the Zondo Commission, where a whistleblower is being paid and the person still lost their house. They're never getting it back. So is there a way that we need to look at that? I mean, I don't know how we fix, but that immediate problem. Retaliation
is the biggest problem and the biggest fear that potential would-be whistleblowers face. We've seen it happen with the likes of Mathangoe at Prasa. tribunals and the courts.
They're still trying to get her out.
Yes. She's basically still not in, because although they've said go in, go back to work, they still said no, we're not welcome. And they're using you and I, our resources, to litigate, not their own resources. And Martha is sitting at home, still being paid, but still being made to foot the legal bills on her own. And those officials are being paid by you and me. In fact, their legal bills are being carried by you and I. So those type of situations ought to be, the light ought to be shown, spoken out, and make sure that we agitate for a change of attitude, especially in those in authority.
I haven't seen the guest list for Thursday night's event honouring whistleblowers, but it is likely that somewhere this week, even if they aren't invited, I don't know if I would have invited them, a politician will probably tweet their support for whistleblowers. And, from time to time we'll see a politician make big speeches and, how important whistleblowers are. Babita Deokaran is still dead. We still don't know who the mastermind was. Do you believe the politicians when they claim to be supporting whistleblowing?
Yeah. You know what hurt me, just in response to your question, what hurt me is when Babita was initially said to not be a whistleblower, And that, for me, it was really a sad point, a lowest point of it all. Because how else would you regard somebody who push back and make sure that they shine a light on malfeasance, on corruption, that they are not a whistleblower. And we've seen the extent of the rot in the health department, which also exposed so many other things that were not even known, but for Babita's whistleblowing. And it really must tell politicians, think, to do better, because it cannot be that you make people, be disparaged, people being denigrated for shining a light on wrongdoing. And it's the spirit of Babita that we celebrate. We want to honor and make sure that we keep alive and make sure that there's more Babitas out there who might be scared to come out. We've got Patricia Mashele today. We can't invite her to join us at the event. Unfortunately, she cannot be there, because she's in hiding from the same police. Even if you get police to come and guard the event, we're still not sure if their bodies can say, is she there or not there. So that's kind of thing that we need to push back against in society. And it's really shameful that the politicians don't see. They seem to not walk the talk.
I mean, to sort of recap where we are with Babita Deokaran and Thabisa Hospital, Dr. Ashley Mthunzi, the CEO there, still no finding against him. That disciplinary hearing's been going on, I think, for about a year now. We had just, in response to a question from the DA, I think, in Gauteng, the health department in Gauteng, confirmed that some people, some companies who'd received some of these suspect contracts are still receiving contracts. We've seen the overbilling, as reported by News 24. I mean, it's immense. And just no consequences. I mean, this is the problem. I mean, often in employment contracts, it'll say to you, you must blow the whistle on corruption. To who?
Because there's nobody else on whom you can feel safe, or with whom you can feel safe, because you speak out, then you might be the next person. And you have to do those calculations. And it is the fear that they instill in everybody else's heart that makes people shun and not want to actually speak the truth. But we want to deal with it, to try and encourage society to speak up. Because the more people speak out, the more people push back, the less people are likely to commit wrongdoings.
Tebogo, Khaas, thank you, founder of Public Interest SA. Appreciate you coming in.